2032. I am glad to state that so far, the disbursement recovery rate is about 99%, indicating the government seed money is fully recoverable and in circulation. The program's eligibility criteria, application process, and beneficiary success stories highlight its effectiveness in addressing housing needs and enhancing community well-being, and government is poised to take the necessary steps in the short to medium term to scale up the operations of the scheme across all 16 regions of the country. Review of rent laws. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, recognizing the critical role of rental housing in national development, my ministry continued the review of the Rent Act 1963, Act 220, and the Rent Control Law 1986, PNDC Law 138. These reforms aim to modernize outdated legislation, eliminate regulatory bottlenecks, and incentivize private sector investment into rental housing. Key priorities include maintaining tenant protections, especially for low-income and vulnerable groups, while also regulating hostel accommodations fees across the country. Towards the end of the year 2025, the National Dialogue was organized to validate and streamline the proposed amendments. The ministry taking the necessary steps to resubmit the revised bill to Cabinet and subsequently Parliament for consideration and approval. The water subsector. Water resources management. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, Ghana's annual renewable water resources are estimated at approximately 54 billion cubic meters, with over 70% of this volume sourced from the Volta Basin, shared among 6 riparian nations, including Ghana. However, per capita renewable water availability has been on a steady decline from approximately 3,000 cubic meters per person per year in the 1960s to about 1,650 cubic meters as at today. This figure falls below the United Nations threshold of 1,700 cubic meters, indicating parts of the country are already experiencing water stress situation. Despite the abundance of natural water resources, Ghana continues to face significant and multifaceted challenges that hinder sustainable water resource management. These include 1. Climate variability, such as erratic rainfall, drought, and flood, have become more intense and frequent. Illegal mining, commonly referred to as galamsey, continues to pollute our rivers and threatens our ecosystems. Deforestation and poor land management practices continue to degrade our watersheds. Over 60% of Ghana's river catchments have been subjected to unsustainable land use practices. Inadequate enforcement of regulations, overlapping institutional mandates, limited resources, and lack of real-time data do hamper coordinated interventions and further compound our challenges. Uncontrolled urban sprawl, which has led to the encroachment of wetlands, riverbanks, and recharge zones. Borehole drilling, largely unregulated, is depleting aquifers, while industrial expansion often disregards effluent control measures. To address the challenges outlined above, the Water Resources Commission with the support of government and other development partners, raised 34,000 seedlings as part of the buffer zone restoration program. With the implementation of nature-based solutions, as well as the establishment of watershed investment programs for some river basins. The Commission has also adopted the bottom-up approach of water resources management by establishing local water governance systems, where riverian communities are directly engaged to support the management of our water resources. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, in support of efforts to combat illegal mining, especially within water bodies, the Commission has developed the Water Resources Assessment System, which is currently in its operational testing phase, alongside user acceptance testing and training sessions. The system will be linked with the Mining Cadastre Administration System of the Minerals Commission to enhance government's vision of streamlining the permitting and licensing process for small-scale mining while reducing the turnaround time. Additionally, 2 legislative instruments for the management of riparian buffer zones and the control of waste discharge and management of water quality within the country are being drafted with the support of the Attorney General's Office for onward submission to Parliament for consideration. These LIs, when adopted, will minimize encroachment and pollution of water bodies in the country. Water supply. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, according to the Ghana Statistical Service and the WHO and UNICEF Joint Monitoring Program, approximately 88% of Ghana's population has access to basic water services. However, only 44% benefits from safely managed water services, defined as improved water source. That is on premises, available when needed, and free from contamination. Urban water access is relatively high at 96%, whereas rural areas report an average of 70%. Low investment in maintenance, poor cost recovery, high operational cost, pollution of water sources, and climate-induced variabilities. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, to address these challenges, my ministry continued the implementation of key interventions aimed at expanding and improving water services nationwide. The following urban water supply projects are at various stages of completion. 1, project is 72 project is 91% completed. Secondly, water supply project 89% completed. Government will soon commence work on the Damago and Sunyani water supply expansion projects as rural water supply projects are also at various stages of completion. One, as 72% completed. Sefirio, 57% completed. Adaso, 50% completed. Kwema Damfa, 75% completed. Goso, 59%. Jabin, 65% completed. Avem, 81% completed. Edu Banso, 70% completed. Water sector reform. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, my ministry continues to pursue water sector reform in line with the broader objectives of the revised national water policy. Studies are currently ongoing to define clear and sustainable pathways aimed at strengthening institutional coordination, improving service delivery, and enhancing financial sustainability. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, in conclusion, in the face of resource constraints, the Ministry of Works, Housing and Water Resources remains resolute in its commitment to deliver transformative policies, programs and projects that positively impact the lives of Ghanaians as we confront the complex challenges of infrastructure, development, and environmental sustainability. We urge all stakeholders, both state and non-state actors, to adhere strictly to planning regulations, promote responsible development practices, and demonstrate improved civic responsibility. Let us reaffirm our shared commitment to building a resilient, inclusive, and forward-looking Ghana. On behalf of the ministry, I extend my deep appreciation to all partners and stakeholders for your continued support. We remain dedicated to creating infrastructure that meets today's needs while laying a solid foundation for future generations. May God bless us all. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister, for that thorough and comprehensive briefing on the various activities being undertaken by your ministry. You have indeed that whereas you are a man of few words, you are action-oriented and you are getting the job done. This should put to rest any doubts that may linger about the kind of work that you are doing in fulfillment of President Mohammed's charge to you to ensure that the sector you superintend is properly and adequately developed. Well, at this stage, as is customary, we would invite questions from members of the media present relating to the presentation that has been made or any other matter that has to do with the works, housing, and water resources sectors. So I would invite you to the microphone. The usual rubric will apply. Identify yourself, the media organization you work for, and then go straight to your question without any lengthy preambles, please.
Okay. Minister, my name is Abdul Hanan Adam, and I work with EIB Network. Minister, you gave highlights with regards to the Akosombo Dam spillage, but sometime 11 months ago when President Mahama visited Ho for his thank you tour, he made mention about the fact that adequate compensation will be paid to victims of the Pon and Akosombo Dam spillage. It's been 11 months, but the previous administration, through your predecessor, said some 2,000 housing units had started and were at various stages of completion. In this last 1 year, how many of these houses have been given back to the victims, or they are also still at the various stages of completion, as you've indicated? My second question has to do with the Garrick project. We know Ghana approved it in 2019. It was a World Bank facility worth $200 million. But in April, when President Mahama visited toured some flood-prone areas in Accra, he expressed his disapproval over the delay of the completion of the project. You subsequently, as minister, in November, also visited these areas and employed contractors to accelerate work in these areas. It's been about 3 months. Still, the project is not yet completed. How much has been spent so far? And given the fact that between 2020 and 2023, we had some economic turbulence, the government of Ghana commit additional resources to this project. Thank you.
Thank you very much. If there's any other question, I would invite it at this stage. So in the interest of time, if you have any question, please move towards the microphone so that we have a quick transition.
Komla Klucher is my name. I work for TV3. All right. My question is two, actually. The first one is the previous administration introduced a rent assistance scheme on to most people, but we haven't really heard much about it. Can you apprise us with what has been done so far and the benefit it brought to Ghanaians? And if it's still running, how much has been expended so far with regards to the rent assistance scheme?
Komla, if I didn't know better, I would have said that you just came in, because I heard the minister clearly outline what has been done. But for your benefit and for the benefit of those that may not have heard him, he will reiterate what has been done.
So that will be withdrawn?
Yes. No, it's okay. It's okay. Don't worry. It's not
okay.
I won't disallow it. Maybe there are those who may not have followed him, but
so the other bit has to do with the ravaging of the sea in the Ketu South constituency. I mean, it's become a topical issue. We've seen some work being done. Recently, we've seen a contractor move to site. What is the state of work, and also what are the plans for the rest of the coastline? Because once it moves from one side, it goes to the other side. What's the plan? Is it the intention to have sea defense right from the very start to the end of the coastline?
Again, I believe the minister spoke about that, but he will reiterate it for your benefit. Yes, no problem.
Thank you. My name is Kester. I write for the Daily Graphic. First one is something that really bothers me. If you're driving towards Accra from broadcasting area, there is some particular parts around SCC that floods all the time during the rainy season. I don't know if it's a ritual that we enjoy seeing or if we can actually do something about it. So I wanted the minister to tell me if it's come to his attention and if he has something he wants to do.
Which the area you are describing?
Around SCC, if you're driving from Kaswa to Accra,
okay,
on that stretch. Yeah.
All right. Okay.
And then my second question is about water. I heard him talk about water resources, and I didn't hear him speak about Galamsey in relation to water resources.
Oh, I believe he did. I believe it. But then we'll ask your question, yes.
Okay. But then I wanted to know how much Galamsey has interrupted our water supply.
All right.
If we can really get concrete figures, and if the water we are consuming is healthy, how assured are we that it's not infested with heavy metals and mercury and all of that, because it's become a concern around the world.
Right. It's a
But
fair
then,
question, so you answer, yeah.
this is also about water. Teshi and its environs have been having some rationing, and there's been a lot of talk. Every time the water resource spokesperson speaks, he apologizes and then urges the people to have patience. I wanted to know if there are really real concrete steps being taken, and if the ministry can appraise us on those steps being taken in relation to water rationing in Teshi. And now Chrome, they are complaining they don't have water and all of that. So if you can tell us about water, especially urban water supply. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
Minister, good afternoon. Akosia Autry here from City FM. I have 3 questions to ask. So first of all, as a member of the Presidential Anti-Flood Task Force, I heard you mention initiatives that you've taken, aerial recce, to identify flood-prone areas and approximately some 1.76 kilometers of storm drains under the flood control program that have been constructed. My question is, how much has been invested so far in dealing with flooding since you assumed office? My second question is, given the scale of the complexity of water sector and then the works and housing as well, in your own view, do you think that these 3 sectors should be put under one ministry? Right. And then 3, there are increasing calls for Chinese investors to enter Ghana's real estate sector to boost competition and to ease the high prices. So I want to find out, what is your take on this? Do you encourage Chinese investors into this sector? Thank you.
Thank you very much.
My name is Maxwell Agbagba. I work with GHOne FM. Over the years, a lot of private hostel owners have profiteered from the accommodation challenges on the campuses of our universities. Sometime last year at the annual New Year School, President Mahama talked about a 10,000 bed capacity, which is in the offing to mitigate the situation, especially on the University of Ghana campus. The minister talked about amendment to the rent control law and in the Rent Act to regulate that hostel accommodation space, which I believe would also mitigate the situation. I want to find out from him what rent setting guidelines will be introduced, what controls, what ceilings will be introduced. And then my second question, anytime we talk about affordable housing projects, a lot of people ask, how affordable are they going to be? I want to find out what measures are being taken to ensure that higher income earners and speculative buyers do not capture the affordable housing units that we are putting up. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So, Honorable Minister, you may answer these questions, after which we'll come back for a final round before we wrap up. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Let me start with GHOne. I think you asked about the pledge that His Excellency the President made during the thank you tour about the compensation and, if I remember, the housing units. Yes, His Excellency made that statement. After the disaster, there was a ministerial committee was put together. My ministry actually was charged